Okay, so today this is a theory of what Luffy's Gear 5th will actually be. So before we get into the video, please follow Anime Games Online. This is actually his gameplay. I just use it as my background. So and also subscribe to my channel and follow my social media. The link will be in the description for my Instagram and my Facebook. So let's go ahead and get into the video. So first, let's get down to the basics. The fruit that the user had. Luffy has a paramecia type fruit, and basically this fruit can alter the user's current physical state or their surroundings. So basically, honestly, I think that his Gear 5th will be something based around that. Now, of course, that could also mean maybe he could probably awaken his fruit, and that'll probably be his Gear 5th. I don't really know, but I have three main theories that I want to explore about this, or what his Gear 5th will actually be. So the first theory that I've heard is that Luffy will actually encase his whole body in Haki, which honestly does not really sound exciting. And I'm pretty sure that Rayleigh actually taught Luffy how to use Haki in battle without actually shrouding in his whole body, because that would pretty much use up a lot of stamina. And Luffy is seen using it mainly in his Gear 2nd form and primarily a lot in his Gear 4th form, and this will pretty much burn a lot faster than Gear 4th does, and it'll just be a waste because Gear 4th pretty much gives himself a 10-minute timeout after he's gone out of it. He can do anything. So shrouding his whole body in Haki would just be a waste of energy. So let's go ahead and move on to the second theory. The second theory is that Luffy will use Ace's fruit as his Gear 5th even more than he already does with the Red Hawk. So I don't know about this one though. It sounds pretty cool when you think about it. Cause I mean, think about just Luffy being able to pretty much have like two fruits at the same time, kind of like Blackbeard. And you would think it would be kind of a coincidence, or it'd be kind of cool to have Luffy fight Blackbeard with basically two fruits, and Blackbeard, for now that we know of, has two fruits. That'd be pretty cool. Now, I mean, honestly, on the other hand, you would think that it would probably hurt him in some way, but he uses it a lot in his Red Hawk technique. So, I mean, he's pretty adept to knowing how to use it, and he might just be able to shroud in his whole body or make a lot more flames instead of just on a physical attack. He might actually be able to do the same thing that Ace was able to do, doing like a fire fist or something like that. Now, that would be pretty cool to see. I mean, it really would. So I saved the best for last, and the final theory is that Luffy's Gear 5th will actually be his Fruit Awakening, which this actually makes much more sense than the other two, and it's pretty much going to be expected at this point. And honestly, we don't really see too many things covered around awakenings, and I mean, we've only seen people like partially awaken their fruit throughout the whole series. The only example that we have of a fully awakened fruit is Doflamingo. And his fruit, basically, when it was awakened, made him change the environment around him into actual strings, whereas he didn't even have to touch it or control it with his fingers. He could pretty much move it and make it move on its own. He didn't have to even direct it anywhere. It just pretty much did what he wanted it to. Now, that's, like I said, that's the pretty much only example that we have of any awakened fruit. So it makes you think, what would Luffy's fruit actually be? We already know that the Gum Gum fruit pretty much makes his body rubberish. And you would think, how would that change his environment, or how would it change how he already is, especially if his body's already been changed to a rubber-like state? Well, there are probably two versions that I've actually thought of and actually seen elsewhere that could probably what his awakening could actually just be like. One possibility of his awakening could be that he could pretty much change his body's nature into whatever he wants without actually overexerting himself at all, without using stamina, anything. Which means he can pretty much go into second gear how long he ever needs to, or to do it if he's in the sky or running. He can go into third gear, become a literal giant, which means, I mean, that's pretty OP when you think about it. He could actually be a giant. And not just a giant, he'll also be able to fuse his gears. So just imagine Gear 3rd Giant Luffy with Gear 2nd speed, strength, and I mean, Gear 3rd Luffy is pretty much a giant. He pretty much has a lot of strength anyway. But with Gear 2nd, that would be a lot more strength. And just imagine Gear 3rd Giant Luffy racing across the battlefield with speeds that you can't even see. He'll basically be kind of like Kizaru at that point. And that also means that he'll also be able to go into his Gear 4th without exerting any energy at all. That means he doesn't even have a 10-minute time limit anymore. And as we've seen, Gear 4th is actually pretty powerful. Like he's probably already powerful than a lot of people. It's just people who really have a lot of techniques that can pretty much slow Luffy down to a point or stall him. But you have to also include, and spoilers if you already don't know, but recently they let out Luffy's new Gear 4th form, Snake Man. That means he will also be able to go in Snake Man and probably fuse it with even more Gear 2nd capabilities, which means not only it's already pretty fast where Katakuri couldn't even see him or in the near future. He's gonna be freaking fast. Like, I mean so fast. And it's so freaking awesome. But let's go ahead and get into the second possibility. Now, the second possibility is that he'll actually be able to control the elasticity around him. And if you already don't know, Jinbei actually uses the elasticity in the water and the air to do Fishman karate, and all he basically is actually making is shockwaves. Yeah, he's pretty much making shockwaves at that point. And we've seen shockwaves used within the One Piece world a lot. We've seen Son Goku do it at Marineford in his gold statue form. We've seen Rayleigh do it against Kizaru. We've seen Kuma do it with his little bear paw thing. We've seen Satori use it, one of the priests of Enon. And I mean, we usually see this a lot. But as viewers, we honestly don't even realize it. But this pretty much means that Luffy will be able to make shockwaves anywhere that he wants to, or at least in his vicinity. And he wouldn't even have to use like the Rokushiki style like Rob Lucci does, you know, because he pretty much has to use the Rokugan, you know. I guess that's how you kind of say it, you know. I kind of want to add effect to it. But he wouldn't have to do that. He could just do it like, I guess, at a snap of his fingers, and the shockwave would just hit someone. And I know you're probably like, well, if we've seen shockwaves be in use so much in the series, what would that really change in Luffy to make his Gear 5th pretty much his ultimate technique? Well, honestly, this would pretty much mean that Luffy will actually be the master of shockwaves. I mean, he could be able to use it in any environment, in any condition, anywhere. And honestly, that's pretty OP if you think about it. But that means he can use the elasticity of water, air, I mean, in any condition. I mean, that's pretty OP. If he gets stuck underwater, he can just shockwave himself above the surface. He doesn't even have to worry about drowning anymore. And you see that as a big problem with people with fruits. I mean, it's a really big problem. But, I mean, honestly, it's an endless stretch of possibilities, pun intended. But this is probably the type of power that Luffy needs to beat Blackbeard, Shanks, Kaido, and at some point get the Raftel. And I mean, it's going to be a wild ride. But for now, we're going to cut that ride short because this is all I have for this video. Please subscribe to my channel. Please subscribe to Anime Games Online. And yeah, follow my social media in the description below. And I will see you all later. Boom!